Imagine you are sitting beside a fire. The night is quiet. No predators, no famine, no disease. But someone in the group hands you part of a plant, maybe a leaf, a seed, resin, a mushroom. You have seen others use it before. They say it changes the way things feel. You hesitate, then you try it. At first, nothing happens. The fire looks the same. The people around you are still talking. Then a few minutes pass. Sounds begin to feel deeper. The light seems to move. The distance between you and everyone else feels different. Time slows down or speeds up. You stare into the darkness, and your brain begins creating images that you are not sure are real. A face, an animal, an ancestor, a spirit, a memory. You know you are still sitting beside the fire, but at the same time, you feel as though you are somewhere else, not in a different landscape, but in a different state of mind. And this raises one of the strangest questions about being human. Why would a species that had to survive predators, hunger, and disease deliberately seek ways to make its own perception less stable? Why would an animal that had to remain constantly alert use substances capable of making time, fear, pain, and reality itself feel different? Was it simply for entertainment or to relieve pain, to perform rituals, to reduce fear, to feel closer to the community? Or because altered states allowed humans to access something that normal waking consciousness does not easily permit? Archaeological evidence suggests that humans have interacted with psychoactive substances for a very long time, but the evidence is often fragmentary and difficult to interpret. Organic material decays. Residues can be difficult to preserve. A plant might have been used as food, medicine, poison, a ritual ingredient, or a psychoactive substance. So, we have to be careful with any claim that sounds too certain. But one thing is clearer. Across many cultures, humans repeatedly discovered substances and practices capable of altering consciousness. Alcohol, cannabis, psychoactive fungi, certain cacti, tobacco, fermented drinks, strong stimulants, and even techniques that require no chemical substance at all. Fasting, sleep deprivation, rhythmic dance, drumming, chanting, isolation, pain, breath control. Humans do not merely alter the chemistry of the brain, we alter the conditions around the brain. And that leads to a larger question. Perhaps altered states were not some accidental side effect of civilization. Perhaps they are an ancient part of the human search for meaning. But to understand why, we have to begin with something simpler: pain. Perhaps altered states were not originally about pleasure. Imagine you have a toothache, not for one day, but for weeks. No dentist, no anesthesia, no root canal, no antibiotics. Every time you chew, pain. Every night, pain. Then someone gives you a plant. You chew it. A little while later, the pain decreases. It does not disappear completely, but it fades enough for you to sleep. The next day you use it again. This may have been one of the simplest pathways that led humans towards psychoactive substances. Not "I want to alter my consciousness," but "I want the pain to stop." Many compounds that act on the nervous system do more than produce hallucinations or euphoria. They can affect pain perception, anxiety, alertness, appetite, fatigue, sleep. A substance discovered because of its medicinal effect might also alter mood or perception. And once again, humans did not need to understand receptor chemistry. They only needed observation. This plant makes me sleepy. That plant makes me alert. This reduces pain. That makes my heart beat faster. Some effects are useful. Some are dangerous. Some are both. Current research indicates that traditional pharmacopoeias around the world contain many plants with biologically active compounds, but we should not romanticize them. A natural substance does not automatically mean a safe substance. Dose can determine the difference between medicine and poison. Incorrect preparation can be dangerous. A plant may produce the effect someone wants while causing harm at the same time. However, in a world without modern analgesics, a substance capable of changing the perception of pain could be extraordinarily valuable. Imagine childbirth, injury, dental pain, surgery-like procedures, a wounded hunter, a child in severe discomfort. Anything capable of reducing suffering could become culturally important, and if that substance also altered consciousness, medical use could cross into ritual use. Because pain is not only physical, fear matters too. Did humans use substances to enter situations they would normally avoid? Imagine you are about to hunt a large animal. You know it could kill you. Your heart rate rises. Your hands become sweaty. Fear is not weakness. Fear is a survival mechanism. It tells you, don't do something stupid. But sometimes, survival demands precisely what fear is trying to stop you from doing. Approach the animal, defend the camp, go into battle, climb, cross dangerous terrain, perform a painful ritual. So what do humans do with fear? One answer is social support, another is training, another is story, and another may be chemistry. Alcohol and some psychoactive substances can alter inhibition, anxiety, and risk perception. That does not mean ancient hunters definitely consumed a particular substance before every hunt. We do not have evidence that allows us to generalize in that way. But anthropologists have documented the use of psychoactive substances in ritual warfare, initiation, and communal ceremonies across many cultures. One possible explanation is that altered states may help participants shift from an ordinary emotional state into one suited to a special activity, not because the substance creates genuine bravery, but because it changes how fear is experienced. That can be useful, but also dangerous. Reduced inhibition can cause people to take greater risks. Poor coordination can make hunting more difficult. Judgment can become impaired. So, psychoactive use in ritual often comes with rules. Who uses it? How much? When? Where? Under whose supervision? Rules can act as a form of cultural technology that helps reduce risk. A substance does not exist only as a chemical. It exists within a social framework. And that framework can be just as important as the substance itself. But altered states do not only change fear. They can change something even more important to human societies: connection. Why can altered consciousness make a group feel like one body? Imagine a ritual at night. A fire in the center, drumming, rhythmic movement, voices repeating the same pattern. No substance is necessary, only rhythm. Time passes, movement becomes synchronized, breathing becomes synchronized, attention narrows. After a while, individual boundaries may begin to feel weaker. You are no longer simply hearing the others, you are moving with them. Current research on synchrony suggests that coordinated movement, music, and collective ritual can influence social bonding, trust, and group cohesion. Psychoactive substances in some ritual contexts may intensify these experiences. A person may feel connected to the group, ancestors, nature, the cosmos, gods. From the perspective of neuroscience, that is altered cognition. From the perspective of the person experiencing it, it may be revelation. And this is where modern categories begin to fail. We tend to ask, was that religion or drug use? But for many ancient societies, there may have been no such clear boundary. The substance was part of ritual. Ritual was part of medicine. Medicine was part of religion. Religion was part of social structure. Everything overlapped. Anthropologists propose that ritual-altered states may help reinforce shared beliefs and group identity. A powerful experience, shared by many people, can become emotional evidence for a community's worldview. If a ritual makes you feel that an ancestor is genuinely present, belief is no longer merely an idea. It becomes an experience. An experience is often more persuasive than explanation. That can help myths, rules, and identities survive. But an altered state does something else as well. It causes the brain to create unusual associations, images, memories, patterns, and humans are exceptionally good at turning those experiences into meaning. If you see something that does not exist, how do you know it isn't real? Imagine you have never studied neuroscience. You know nothing about hallucinations, nothing about neurotransmitters. You consume a substance, then you see an animal standing in front of you. It speaks to you. You feel its presence so vividly that it seems more powerful than a dream. The next morning, the animal is gone. How do you explain what happened? A modern answer might be the brain state changed. But an ancient answer might be completely different. A spirit, an ancestor, a god, a journey, another world. This is not because ancient humans were not intelligent enough. Quite the opposite. The brain is doing what the brain always does. It is searching for an explanation for experience. If the experience is extremely vivid, The explanation must be powerful enough to contain it. Archaeologists and anthropologists have long debated the relationship between altered states and certain forms of prehistoric art, shamanism, and ritual imagery. Some scholars have proposed that geometric patterns or hybrid human-animal figures may be connected to altered consciousness, but these interpretations remain debated. We cannot look at a cave painting and confidently declare, "This artist was hallucinating." The evidence does not allow that degree of certainty. But what we can say is that humans have repeatedly used altered states within cultural systems that produce symbolic narratives. Vision becomes story, story becomes ritual, ritual becomes tradition, tradition survives across generations. An experience inside one person's brain can eventually influence an entire culture. That is a remarkable transformation. Something private becomes collective. One person says, "I saw this." Others believe them, or they do not. But if the story fits the existing worldview, it can be absorbed. And after many generations, no one remembers the first person. Only the myth remains. But this creates a problem. Altered states can produce insight or illusion. How did ancient humans distinguish between them? Perhaps they did not always distinguish them in the way we would want them to. And sometimes that very ambiguity is what makes altered states so powerful. Why can something heal, connect, and kill at the same time? A plant can reduce pain. At a higher dose, it causes confusion. Higher still, poisoning. A fermented drink can reduce inhibition. Too much, and coordination collapses. A stimulant can increase alertness. Too much, and it puts stress on the heart. Psychoactive substances exist on a spectrum: medicine, ritual tool, recreational use, poison. There is no fixed boundary within the molecule itself. The boundary often lies in dose context and individual physiology. This may be why cultural regulation emerged. A healer knows the preparation. A ritual specialist controls the amount. A ceremony takes place only at certain times. Children are not allowed to use it. A plant is used only in a certain context. Those rules may contain safety knowledge. Not perfect, but better than random experimentation. However, accidents almost certainly still happened. A mistaken identification, the wrong dose, an unexpected interaction, a contaminated preparation, a person with a particular vulnerability. Prehistoric pharmacology was not a safe playground. It was experimentation with the nervous system in a world without emergency medicine. And that makes the original question even stranger. If the risks were so high, why did the practice not disappear? Perhaps because the benefits in some contexts were valuable enough: pain relief, social bonding, ritual authority, meaning, emotional regulation, relief from suffering, or simply pleasure. Yes, pleasure matters too. Humans do not live merely to avoid death. We also seek states that make life feel worth living: music, dance, sex, story, laughter, food, and sometimes chemistry. Perhaps this is one of the mistakes we make when we look at ancient survival. We assume every behavior must have had an immediate survival function. But humans are not machines optimized for calories. A life consisting only of survival is not the entirety of human life. We seek experience, curiosity, novelty, transcendence, and perhaps altered consciousness is appealing because it gives the brain something rare, a different version of reality itself. Did humans use altered states simply because reality was too harsh? Imagine life without modern comforts: cold, pain, loss, high child mortality, injury, fear, food, uncertainty, death visible everywhere. A friend dies, you bury them. The next day, you still have to hunt. No therapist's office, no antidepressants, no vacation, no entertainment industry. But humans still need to process grief, stress, trauma. An altered state can temporarily change emotional experience. Alcohol can blunt emotion. Some substances can intensify emotion. Ritual can give structure to grief. Music and collective movement can change mood. A ceremony may allow a community to express emotions that ordinary daily life suppresses. This does not mean that psychoactive substances were ancient mental health treatments in the clinical sense. That would be anachronistic. But one possible explanation is that altered states sometimes functioned as part of broader cultural systems for processing fear, grief, and uncertainty. A death occurs. The community gathers. Rhythm, smoke, substance, story. Everyone shares the same frame. Individual suffering becomes collective meaning. Perhaps that mattered, because one of the hardest things about suffering is not pain itself. It is feeling that the pain has no meaning. Humans hate randomness. We create stories. Why did this person die? Where did they go? Will we see them again? What does this mean for us? Altered states may have made those stories feel not merely believable, but experienced. And once an experience feels sacred, it can organize a life. But then something even stranger appears. Some psychoactive practices were not about escape. They were about knowledge. When an altered state becomes a tool for making decisions, a drought comes. Game disappears. Someone is sick. The group does not know what to do. A ritual specialist enters an altered state. Afterward, they say, "Go east. Do not hunt tomorrow. Use this plant. Move the camp." From a modern perspective, this may sound irrational, but socially, something important is happening. Uncertainty is being converted into a decision. Every group must act. Doing nothing is also a decision. When evidence is weak, humans use whatever system of meaning they trust. A ritual specialist can become a decision-making institution, not because the altered state necessarily reveals an external truth, but because the community treats the experience as information. Sometimes the decision might be wrong. Sometimes it might be correct by chance. Sometimes the specialist may also possess deep ecological knowledge beneath the ritual language. A healer may know weather patterns, animal behavior, plant ecology, social conflict. Altered states and expertise can coexist. This is important. We should not assume ritual specialists were merely delusional. A person can hold a symbolic worldview and simultaneously be an excellent observer of nature. A shamanic journey may provide the narrative frame, but the decision may also reflect years of practical knowledge. Anthropologists propose that ritual specialists in many societies can occupy roles that combine healing, social mediation, ecological knowledge, and religious authority. So perhaps an altered state was sometimes less like seeing the future, and more like entering a culturally recognized mode for thinking about uncertainty. A different mental workspace. But there is one more reason humans may have valued altered consciousness. Because ordinary consciousness is not always best at everything. Sometimes loosening control may produce novelty, and novelty is the raw material of creativity. When strange images inside the mind appear on stone walls, imagine someone closing their eyes. Geometric patterns appear, dots, lines, zigzags, spirals, forms, transform. An animal becomes human, a human becomes animal, a face emerges from stone. Many altered states can affect visual perception and pattern recognition. Some scholars have suggested links between such experiences and recurring motifs in rock art. Again, the hypothesis is controversial. We cannot reduce prehistoric art to hallucination. Cave art may involve hunting cosmology, storytelling, identity, memory, ritual, aesthetics, and many other meanings, but altered perception offers one possible source among many for unusual imagery. What matters more is a broader point. Human brains can generate images internally. Dreams prove it, hallucinations prove it, imagination proves it. We do not need an external object to see something in the mind. And then, humans develop the ability to externalize those inner images. Paint, engrave, carve, tell, dance, suddenly. Something that existed for seconds in one nervous system could survive for thousands of years on stone. That is extraordinary. A vision becomes a symbol becomes culture, and culture changes future minds. Maybe the deepest significance of altered states is not that they made humans see strange things. It is that humans could share what they saw. No one else can enter your mind directly, but you can draw, speak, sing, perform, and others can build meaning from it. That bridge from inner experience to shared symbol may be one of the foundations of religion, art, and story. But altered consciousness does not require plants at all. And this may be the oldest part of the entire story. Because before humans discovered fermentation, before cannabis, before psychoactive mushrooms, we already carried a chemical laboratory inside the skull, and culture learned how to activate it with rhythm, movement, fasting, breath, darkness, and sleep. Because sometimes the most powerful drug available to an ancient human was their own brain. Humans do not need plants to alter consciousness. Imagine a ritual without any substance at all. No alcohol, no mushrooms, no smoke containing special chemicals. There is only the rhythm of drums, breath, movement, darkness, and time. They remain fully aware. But the rhythm repeats again and again. The body grows tired, breathing changes, sweat appears, attention gradually narrows. Everyone hears the same beat. Footsteps begin to synchronize. Voices repeat the same sound. An hour passes, perhaps longer. And then some people begin to feel different. Time becomes difficult to measure. Body awareness changes. Pain may feel different. Emotion intensifies. Some people cry. Some laugh. Some feel as though they have left their own bodies. No external chemical is required. The brain creates the altered experience itself. Current research indicates that rhythmic stimulation, prolonged movement sensory restrictions, sleep deprivation, fasting, and certain breathing practices can strongly affect attention, arousal, and subjective experience. That means ancient humans did not have to wait until they discovered a psychoactive plant to begin exploring altered consciousness. They already had many doors: dance, chanting, drumming, fasting, isolation, dark caves, painful initiation, extreme exertion, dreams. Each technique affects the nervous system in a different way, and some rituals may combine several of them at once. Imagine, you have been fasting all day. You did not get enough sleep the night before. You enter a dark cave. Drums repeat steadily. Smoke hangs in the air. The group chants. Your body is exhausted. Expectation is extremely high. If in that state you see an image or sense a presence, the experience can be extraordinarily powerful. And this is an important point. Expectation shapes experience. If you have been taught since childhood that this ritual allows you to meet an ancestor, your brain does not enter the ritual as a blank page. You already have symbols, stories, faces, beliefs. Those things can influence how the altered state is interpreted. Two people may experience similar sensations, yet tell completely different stories. One person says, "I saw an ancestor." Another, "I saw an animal spirit." A modern person in a laboratory might say, "I experienced visual distortion." The same class of brain experience, different cultural meaning. And this shows us that altered consciousness has never been only about chemistry. It is chemistry plus culture. Before humans deliberately altered their minds, the mind was already doing it every night. Imagine you are an ancient human. You sleep in a dream. Your dead father appears. He speaks. You see his face, hear his voice, feel his presence. In the dream, he is not dead at all. Then you wake up. The world returns, but the memory remains. How do you explain what just happened today? We have the neuroscience of sleep, REM, memory consolidation, dream research. But for a human without a scientific framework, dreams present an enormous philosophical problem. If someone who is dead can still appear, are they truly gone? If you travel somewhere in a dream, where did the mind go? If a warning in a dream comes true, does it have meaning? Perhaps dreams were among the earliest experiences that led humans to believe that consciousness was not entirely the same thing as the physical world. The body lies beside the fire, but the mind is somewhere else. This is an extraordinarily powerful concept. A body is here. A self can go somewhere else. Anthropologists have long noted that dreams play important roles in the belief systems of many societies, but we cannot directly know how Paleolithic people understood dreams. No dream fossil, no transcript. Still, dreaming is biologically ancient. Ancient humans dreamed. Neanderthals almost certainly slept and dreamed in some form. Earlier hominins too. Every night the mind creates its own reality. Faces, danger, sex, animals, dead relatives, impossible landscapes. Altered consciousness is not an anomaly. It is something every person experiences repeatedly. And perhaps psychoactive rituals made sense partly because humans already knew the mind can produce worlds. Plants did not create that concept from zero. Dreams may have prepared us for it. A substance simply opened the door while we were awake. And if a dream could feel real, so could a chemically altered vision. From there, the boundary between memory, dream, vision, religion, and imagination could become porous. But there is another altered state that is particularly powerful. Not a dream, not a plant, but trance. Why would a community deliberately create an unusual state together? One person having a hallucination alone, that is a personal experience. But when a group participates in a ritual together, that becomes culture. Imagine a ceremony, not entertainment, but an event the entire community has been waiting for. There are rules, preparation, dress, music, fire. Maybe substances, maybe fasting, maybe dancing. Everyone knows what is supposed to happen. A ritual specialist steps into the center. The movement intensifies. Breathing changes. Eventually, they enter a trance. Someone outside that context today might look at it and ask, why? But ritual trance can serve many functions at once. Healing, conflict resolution, group identity, grief, initiation, social hierarchy, decision-making, story reinforcement. An altered state becomes a public event. And a public event has one advantage. It creates shared memory. 10 years later, people may still say, do you remember that ceremony? An intense event is easier to remember than an ordinary day. Emotion strengthens memory. Synchrony strengthens cohesion. Symbols provide structure. An adolescent going through initiation does not merely learn the rules. They experience transformation. Before the ritual, a child. Afterward, an adult. The brain remembers the transition because the body was involved. Pain, fatigue, fear, altered perception, public recognition. Culture writes identity onto the nervous system. That is a profoundly human way to create an institution. No paperwork required, no certificate. Ritual makes status feel real, and altered consciousness can make ritual feel even more authoritative. If participants feel that they have crossed into another reality, the social meaning becomes psychologically powerful. But this power can be used in different ways: to heal, to unite, to control, to frighten, to legitimize authority. A person who claims exclusive access to spirits may gain influence. A ritual specialist can become a healer, a mediator, an advisor, or a holder of power. So altered states are not only about individual psychology. They can become the politics of consciousness. Who is allowed to enter a trance? Who interprets the vision? Who decides what the message means? Who has the authority to say the spirits want this? Those questions can shape society. And once again, a private experience inside the brain becomes a collective structure. If altered states are dangerous, why are human brains still so susceptible to them? This is a difficult question. Evolution does not necessarily design every trait for a single purpose. Some traits are byproducts. Some abilities evolved for one function and were later used for another. The human brain evolved for perception, memory, prediction, social reasoning, language, and flexible behavior. A system that powerful may also be capable of unusual states: dreams, dissociation, hallucinations under extreme conditions, trance, psychoactive responses. Altered consciousness itself did not necessarily evolve because it provided a direct survival advantage. It may emerge from properties of the nervous system that evolved for other reasons. Then culture discovers it and uses it. This distinction matters. Humans can sing because anatomy and neural control allow complex vocal behavior. Music may have many social functions, but that does not mean every note was genetically selected for music itself. Likewise, our ability to experience altered states may be something culture learned to exploit. A biological possibility becomes cultural technology. This is one of the recurring stories of humanity. Hands evolved, culture made needles, voice evolved, Culture made language and song. Memory evolved. Culture made myth. Brain chemistry evolved. Culture discovered ways to manipulate it. And once humans realized that consciousness was flexible, they began experimenting. Perhaps accidentally. A fermented fruit, smoke, a plant, a fasting ritual, a night of dancing, a cave, a dream. Then memory preserved what happened. Someone said, that state matters. And suddenly, an accident became tradition. Not every altered state leads to wisdom. There is a temptation to romanticize this story. Ancient humans discover sacred plants, enter mystical states, gain wisdom, create art, heal trauma. Beautiful, but incomplete. Altered consciousness can also be dangerous. Poor judgment, accidents, poisoning, aggression, vulnerability, dependency, psychological destabilization. A person who loses awareness near a cliff is not more spiritual. They are in danger. A hunter with impaired coordination can miss. A parent who is too intoxicated may fail to protect their child. A toxic plant can kill. A fermented drink can become contaminated. A powerful psychoactive experience can create fear rather than insight. Humans therefore had to solve the same problem we face with every powerful tool. How do you use it without letting it destroy you? Culture provides one answer. Rules, ritual context, dosage traditions, supervision, restricted access, timing, meaning. None of these guarantees safety, but each can reduce random use. And this reveals something important. The difference between chaos and ritual is structure, the same altered state in a different context. One person is alone and confused. Another is surrounded by people who know what is happening. One does not know the dose. Another uses an inherited preparation. One experience has no meaning. Another fits into a shared story. Context changes outcomes, not perfectly, but significantly. This may be why many psychoactive traditions are embedded in ceremonies rather than treated as ordinary daily consumption. The substance is not the whole technology. The social container is. And perhaps this is the deepest similarity between ancient mind alteration and modern medicine. The molecule matters, but so do the setting, expectation, support, knowledge, and dose. Perhaps we are trying to expand it. Let us return to the ancient person beside the fire. They take the plant. The vision begins. Why? Maybe pain, maybe ritual, maybe grief, maybe curiosity, maybe pleasure, maybe the community expects it. There is probably no single answer. Different cultures, different substances, different periods, different motives. But perhaps they all share one deeper human tendency. We do not accept consciousness as fixed. Humans repeatedly ask, what else can I feel? What else can I see? Can pain be changed? Can fear be changed? Can grief be changed? Can the self disappear? Can I feel closer to others? Can I speak to the dead? Can I experience something beyond ordinary life? This curiosity is not limited to drugs. We seek it through music, meditation, extreme sports, prayer, dance, fasting, sex, art, sleep deprivation, solitude, crowds, story, even cinema. You sit in a dark room, watch light on a screen, and allow your nervous system to feel fear, sadness, and joy for people who do not exist. That, too, is a controlled alteration of consciousness. Humans love entering realities that are not literally present. Maybe this is not a flaw. Maybe it is tied to imagination itself. To simulate another world, the brain must temporarily loosen its grip on this one. That same capacity allows us to imagine a hunt before it happens, a future home, a god, a dead ancestor, a city that has not yet been built, a story, a scientific theory. A consciousness capable of leaving immediate reality can also invent reality. And perhaps that is why altered states fascinate us. They reveal something we normally forget. The world you experience is partly constructed inside your head. Our ancestors crossed continents, mountains, deserts, ice, oceans. But the strangest landscape they explored was inside the skull. No map, no compass, no guarantee of returning unchanged. They discovered that pain could shift, fear could shift, time could shift, identity could shift. Reality itself could feel flexible. Some experiences became medicine, some became ritual, some became religion, some became pleasure, some became danger, some may have inspired stories or art. and many disappeared without leaving any archaeological trace. We will never know the first person who discovered that fermentation could alter consciousness, or the first person who ate a particular psychoactive plant. Maybe it happened by accident, maybe through desperation, maybe through observing animals, maybe through curiosity. But imagine the surprise. You consume something ordinary. Then the world changes. Not outside, inside. And when you return, you know something astonishing. Your own mind is not fixed. For a species built on imagination, that discovery may have been irresistible. Because once you learn that consciousness has doors, someone will always wonder what lies behind the next one. Every night, you lie down, close your eyes, and disappear from waking reality. Then the brain creates people, places, animals, conversations, sometimes fear, sometimes impossible worlds. Then morning comes, and most of it vanishes. Dreaming may be the most common altered state humans have ever experienced. Yet something strange happens. You can spend hours dreaming, wake up, and remember almost nothing. Why? Why does the brain create entire worlds, then erase them? And why do some dreams remain vivid for decades, while others disappear within seconds? Could ancient humans have understood dreams as messages? Could dreams have shaped myth, religion, and decision-making? And why are humans so bad at remembering something we do almost every night? That is the next story. Why can't humans remember most of their dreams? Because perhaps every night your brain creates an entire world, and every morning it almost deliberately makes you forget it.